we're going to people maybe come in, maybe not. Okay, so topic tonight is why buy. So we would just go over a bunch of different reasons why buying a house is a fantastic idea. So first thing I'm going to talk about is buying a house can create stability for you. So we'll talk about predictability, the cost of renting versus buying, the security that home ownership can give you, pride of ownership, some financial incentives to own a house, as well as how we can combat the effects of inflation through owning real estate, and then go through some facts and then some misnomers about real estate. All right, so stability. When I think about stability, one of the first examples that come to my mind is dating. So when I was out dating, looking for girls, that took energy. It took space in my brain. You know, when do you call them back? If you do it too soon, you're desperate. If you wait too long, they think you don't like them anymore. Like, what do you say when you meet their friends or their parents? You know, so when you're dating, that occupies part of your mind and then prevents you from being productive in other areas. So I found when I got married, I was able to take that energy that I had put into trying to find a mate, and that was freed up to do other things like pursue businesses. So the same concept applies here when we're talking about buying a house. If you're renting, you may have questions about, when am I going to have to move next? Do I have to move in 6 months when my lease is up? Is my landlord going to raise the rent on me? Am I going to be here in 3 years? Probably not. So now I'm spending energy changing addresses all the time, trying to get my deposits back. You know, the dog tore up the lawn. I put my elbow through the wall. So home ownership can then, if you're not concerned about where you're going to be in 6 months or in a year, about your deposit or rent going up, that can also clear your mind so you can concentrate on other productive things like, you know, getting a better job, making more money at your current job, etc. So you can focus on more productive things, and follow my slides, and then plan for the future, knowing that you're going to be there for a while. And then that allows you, in my opinion, to grow personally and professionally, because that's one less thing that's occupying your brain space. What do you guys think of that? All right, predictability. So once you buy a house, your payment won't change substantially. So your payment's broken up into 4 parts. So you got the principal and the interest. So this part, if you get a 30-year mortgage, is fixed. So this part doesn't change. So let's say your principal and interest payment is $1,200 a month. So for the entire duration of your loan, this will not change at all. Now, the only 2 things that will change are property taxes and insurance. Taxes are going to go up 3% a year. So if this is a $300,000 house, your property taxes are probably $3,000. So every year they'll go up 3%. So that'd be what, $90? So that's $90 a year divided by 12. What's that, like 8 times 12, 96, so like $7 a month. So you can expect to go up $7 a month here, and then interest or insurance, may go up about $60 a year or $5 a month. So if you look at the variables here, so the big part stays the same, and these year over year will go up on an average of $12 a month. Welcome. Now, if you contrast that with rent, what's an average rent? $1,600. Okay. So let's say 2019 rent was $1,600. You guys think rents will go up or down next year or this year?
9.9%.
9.9%.
Exactly.
That's property manager.
Exactly.
So yeah, the Senate Bill 608 came into play, and we can now raise rents 7% plus the cost of living, which is called the CPI. And so Eli, you said that's 9.9% this year. Yeah?
This year. Yeah.
So even if you're paying say $1,800 a month here, $1,600, $1,700 a month here, this more or less, for all intents and purposes, stays because you own the house. Over here, you 2019 rent $1,600. So that means 2020 could go up, what, $160, $158. So that would be 1,758. And then do you think rents will go up or down in 2021? Up. So then they'll go up another. So up 158 here. They'll probably go up another 160 here, or 170. Right, and that's 170. So this here alone, just the predictability, predictability is huge, because here you're not worried about this going up. Over here you're going, okay, we're going to push into 1,600. And then you get that 90-day notice. Say rent's going up to 1,758 in 90 days. And so the first thing you do is you call property manager, go on Craigslist and try to find another place to rent. And lo and behold, they've all done that. So I guess you just stay because of the expense of moving to end up in a similar situation. Even if you find one in 2020 for 16, you think it'll go up in 2021. So I really like the predictability about it. Because your payment won't change, and this gets drastic. You start doing that monthly times 12. Auto, what's 158 times 12?
1896.
Yeah, so this thing, is costing you $1,900 more, and then it's going to do it again and again and again and again. Okay. The cost of renting versus buying. This is a pretty interesting one. So historically, it's been a little bit more expensive to rent than to buy. So this is a percentage of your income that's dedicated to your housing costs. So, historically, you're paying about 26% of what you make in housing expenses. And then you'd be paying 21% of what you make for your mortgage expense. So principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Now, this spread has gotten even wider. So now it's 27, almost 28% of what you make is going towards rent. Well, that same percentage towards your mortgage payment has dropped. That's mostly because of these rent raises. We're in the middle of a housing crisis. It's not going to end anytime soon. So what happens when you're in a housing crisis, that's because we have a shortage of housing. We have a shortage of developable land. And so this problem from being fixed is a decade or more out. Because first we have to be able to get the land. We have to be able to turn it into building lots. Then we have to be able to build the houses. Then we have to be able to finance them and get it rented out. So if anything, this spread of 6-7% is never going to come back. This is going to get higher and higher and higher. So a bigger percentage of what you make will end up going to rent in the future, because rent's going to keep going up and up and up. Well, your mortgage payment stays the same. Security. Susie Orman says, owning a home is a keystone of wealth, both financial affluence and emotional security. So, who in here has kids? I've got kids.
Yeah.
When you're growing up, Ben, did you live in the same house for a good portion of your life?
I would say yes.
I did too. And that's a big thing for kids, is they know where home is. If you're moving every 6 months because you're renting, or once a year or 18 months, that's tough. You get to know your neighbors. You know where you're going to go. You can have your address memorized. I think owning a house, really helps with security. I mean, Logan, how did that change you guys when you bought a house? Because that was what your first one was a few years ago now, right?
Yeah, it was great. I think it was, it was something we'd always been shooting for. And to be honest with you, it was a lot easier than we thought it was going to be. We didn't know what we were going to be able to get approved for. And the approval process was pretty simple. We got approved quickly. It was easy. And having that stability has been huge for us. Even though we don't have kids, it's nice working on a commission-only income, knowing what your outbound is going to be every month, and knowing that that's not going to change has been huge for us.
Yeah.
And it's a stepping stone to investing in properties and obtaining rentals. And
yes, there's a couple different aspects of security, knowing where you're at, and then also the financial security aspect that we'll get into a little bit later. Private ownership. This is my favorite one. I come from a construction background. And so if you're, what I was using an example of earlier, you're renting the place, right? And there's carpet in the bathroom. So you hop out of the shower and those little toes are digging into the carpet. You're like, dude, this is sick. You shouldn't have carpet in the bathroom. So call your landlord, hey, we get something different. And if the landlord is like most landlords, are they going to let you rent out the bathroom? No. And if you're lucky, maybe you're a licensed contractor, they'll pay for the material, but you're going to do the labor yourself. But if you own the house and your toes are digging into that nasty carpet, you can go YouTube it. How to change flooring in a bathroom, shoot down to Home Depot or Lowe's and make it happen on a weekend and have fun with it. And then you get to enjoy the fruits of your labors. Like we were talking about, it's a little sore subject for Logan. He has ripped all the doors out of his house and is having all new doors put in. Well, somehow between measuring the doors and then them getting ordered, all the door sizes ended up being wrong. But when he gets those new doors installed that he did himself, he's going to get to look back and have a beer on his couch or eat lasagna or whatever guys do and enjoy the fact that those are his doors. He ripped them out, put them in, and was able to make the house better. Now, if you go fix the house that you're renting, who receives the benefit of the improvements? The landlord does, right? So you're going to increase the value if you do updates on the house, even painting, doors, floors, windows, cabinets, countertops, you name it. So you're going to get to renovate it. Obviously, if you burn the place down, you're going to get in trouble, from a mortgage standpoint. But outside of that, you can do anything you want with your house because it's yours. Go ahead and take a seat. You can customize it. And then, like I said, you can enjoy the fruits of your labors. And that is, has anyone done any construction work or remodels themselves? Even painting or, it's nice. You get to look at it and it's like, hey, I did this thing on a weekend, but I get to enjoy it forever. And then if you own that house and then you move out of it, then the next renter gets to enjoy it. You may get a little bit more money for rent with a nicer house. The house a little bit better. So a lot of good things happen with private ownership.
Boost your equity.
All right. The money reasons, finance. Okay, so appreciation, Miss Merriam-Webster told us that appreciation is an increase in value. So we were having a discussion this morning about property appreciation. We have, people are thinking, all right, we're near the end of an economic cycle. Is the housing market going to crash? How high can it go? Let's see. So we've got money is this axis, and then time is this axis. And so you guys all see this. So we can call it, so I think the last height of the market was 2006. So it's kind of about here, right? And then things took a pretty good dive. And the bottom, I would say, was about 2010, 2011. So values went way down, and then they've come back up. And I think we reached these levels in about 2016.
Correct.
And now we're still doing this because we're what, 20? So even the people that bought here, if you bought here and sold here, did you lose money? If you bought here and sold here, did you lose money? But if you bought here and didn't sell, did you lose any money? So if you bought here and sold there, right, broke even. So I like this illustration just to show the only way to lose money in real estate is to sell it. And I think it's pretty fair to say that when it was doing this, everyone thought it was going to do that forever, right? Kind of like now, like, hey, yeah, man, the market's good, it's good, it's good. And then when it was doing this, I gotta sell it. You gotta get out of here. It's never gonna get any better, right? So just be aware of whatever happens because we can't tell the future. Is as long as you hold on to it. So this was the worst housing value correction I think we've ever seen, maybe outside of the Great Depression. And it took from 2006 to 2016. So it took 10 years for it to go all the way down and come all the way back up. And that's really not that bad. You have 30-year mortgages, right? Because houses last for 100 plus years. So as long as you don't freak out and sell this thing, you'll be fine. And we also know, last slide, that the same money over time, we started recording rents in 1960, and this has been the average trend line for rents. They've never gone down since we've started paying attention to rents. So your house value goes down, but if you know that, let's see if I can do this. We should get a calculator, we should do some math. If your rents are going to keep going up, even if values turn south a little bit, it wouldn't make sense to sell the house because you jump back into, like we just talked about, rents going up. Does this make sense?
Give them that visual on the zoomed out perspective of the market.
Okay, so yeah, essentially, so we could go back, I don't know, we'll erase dates, this will be more fun. So if rents have done this, real estate values have kind of done this over time. But what you'll notice is there have been some ebbs and flows. But just like the stock market, if you zoom out, if you look at, stock market crash here, but they're relatively small dumps in the grand scheme of things. So, and we're in one of these right now. If this was 2006, this could be 2022. They're higher, right? So even the top here, we didn't think it would get any higher. Well, it did. And if we have a little correction, it'll still come back. In 20 years, do you think houses will be more or less expensive than they are today? Even looking 20 years ago in 2000, I mean, because we have our data for the MLS goes back to the mid 90s. You look and see how much some people paid for houses back then, 50 grand, 60 grand. It's like, oh. So if we know that 20 years ago prices, man, I wish I would have had like any money. I think I was 14 or something. But if you would have bought then, who cares what the market is? Because fast forward 20 years. So the place we're in now, we'll look back in 20 years and be thinking what we are now about 20 years ago. Kind of interesting thought, right? Like my dad, he had an opportunity to buy Apple stock, $1 a share. Yeah, some computer company, I'm not into that. I'm just gonna, do something else. And so that opportunity came and went, or opportunity to buy Uber or Amazon or Lithia stock, I think is like 140 a share now. At one point it was at $1.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, right. So let's see, I think I bought Lithia at like 20 and then it got to like 60. I sold it. I made all the money I could ever make on it. And so that's this kind of thinking. If you're zoomed in right here, and it's up and it's down, it's never coming back. But if you come out and look over, like say this is 100 years, we're all probably going to be around in the next 30 years. And yeah, so even if we think it's a little high now, it's probably going to keep going up, and it really doesn't matter in the long term. What matters is just the acquisition of the property, because appreciation. Okay, mortgage interest tax deduction. Before I came in here, I was actually working on my taxes. And that's one thing I was looking at is the interest you pay on your taxes for the first $1 million worth of mortgage debt is deductible. And so here's the way that works. This is super helpful if you are a first-time home buyer, you don't have any interest deductions now. Might have some student loans or something. Student loan interest deductible?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So let's go back to that payment. Let's do a $1,600 a month payment. And it's broken down to principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Let's make it a $300,000 house. That means the taxes are, let's just go $3,000 a year. And then, so out of the 1,600, let's say insurance, online is your calculator.
Okay.
500, taxes are 3,000, so 3,500 divided by 12.
291.
Let's call it 300 a month for easy math. So that would be 6. So insurance is 600 a year, taxes are 3,000 a year. This is part of your payment. So that would mean that $1,300 of your monthly payment is taxes and insurance. Now, the way amortization works, no, what'd I say? Oh, shoot. Yeah, principal and interest. And this is the one we're hunting for right now. So your first loan payment of the $1,300 for principal and interest, there's a good chance that 200 of that goes actually towards the principal. And 1,100 of your first payment goes towards the interest. And the reason for that is amortization makes all the interest paid up front. So your first payment's almost all interest, and your last payment is going to be almost all principal. And so then your next payment may be 201, and then 1,099, and the next payment's 202. So there's a little bit of debt payoff happens in the first few years, but the majority of it is interest expense. That's why all the bankers want you to refinance every few years to make sure you never actually pay the debt. So if we just average it out, let's say that it's $1,000 on average for the first year. So that's $12,000 a year. My math right there? So if I pay 12 grand in interest, and the average tax rate is 33%. That means I have $4,000 in tax savings based on these assumptions. So I'm paying $1,600 a month renting or buying. So the money's gone, right? Unless you're living in your parents' basement, like you have a housing expense. So either way, this money's gone. So at least here you get to pay part of your principal down. Not much, but something. The majority of it's going to interest, and then you got your taxes and insurance. So I pay my $12,000 in interest in 2020. I pay a 33% effective tax rate. So every dollar I make, I get 67 cents, and then Uncle Sam gets 33 cents. Well, if I make 100 grand, and then I deduct just my interest, that means I pay taxes on $88,000, not taxes on $100,000. That's the way deduction works. Gross minus whatever you can write off equals what ends up being taxable. And that equates to $4,000 in taxes that you didn't pay. So then you can, if you want to, you can add that back into these costs here, because that's over $300 a month in tax savings, just in the interest portion of your mortgage payment. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got $2 million mortgage, you can only write off the first $1 million. Sorry. Property taxes are also deductible. So this got a little more complicated in 2018. I'm sure you guys all heard of the tax reform thing that happened in 2018. So that's SALT. So state and local taxes. So now it used to be all of your taxes would be deductible. But if this is the only house you own, you don't pay like any city taxes like people do in New York City. So on top of your interest being a deduction, that's $4 grand off of your taxes, off of what you owe. You're also able to write off these taxes. And that's just maxed to $10,000 a year. So if you had $12,000 in real estate taxes, you'd only be able to write off 10, because the max state and local tax deduction is now $10,000. So then again, so now you're 88, and you minus your 3. Now you're down to paying taxes on $85,000. So now you're written off $15,000. Still, same scenario, right? Still have to pay for somewhere to be, getting a little bit of debt paid down, getting a deal on the interest. Now I'm also getting a deal on the taxes. So that 33% of that, that's another $1,000 in the bank. So now you could, this is a very likely scenario. I don't know if the people on the TV can see.
No, I got you.
You got it, okay. Now you're saving $5,000 in taxes. I made 100. I'm only paying taxes on 85, which is saving me $5,000 in my pocket. If I didn't own this house, I'm paying 5,000 more taxes. So these are real dollars. Sometimes it's, you just see that if you're an employee, your tax refund would just be a lot bigger next year. But the reality is you could also lower your withholdings on your paycheck and have a bigger paycheck throughout the entire year. Oh my gosh, 5,000 divided by 12, 400 a month.
416.
400. Ooh. Got a math guy in the back. And so if you own 10 houses, you're only going to be able to deduct the 10,000 total property taxes. So this gets a little bit squirrelier once you start owning more property because you start losing some of these write-offs. $1 million in mortgage, 10,000 in state local taxes. But it's still pretty good, huh? Mm-hmm. But I would say better to hold ahead.
Bruce.
Bruce. Okay, capital gains exclusion. This is really cool too. So can someone tell me what capital gains is?
Will you pay if you sell your property?
Yeah, so a capital gain is you buy an asset like a house, or it could be a car. You buy a classic car or something. You buy it for $10,000. You own it for a year or more. Sell it for $20,000. What'd you make? Hey, you get to pay taxes on that. Right? Bought it, flipped it, made a profit. $10,000. Now, if you bought the house for $100,000, sold it for $200,000, with a couple assumptions, you lived in it for at least 2 years. It was your primary residence, and you didn't use it for business purposes. So if you buy it, and then you rent it out, or you say half of it's home office, and you jack it with the IRS, it's going to affect us a little bit. But buy the house, just living in it, doing my thing, getting all the deductions that are on the other side of the board. Oh no, I erased them. So you're getting your taxes and your insurance and your interest deducted from the loan. Now you bought this thing. So we bought this in 2013. We sold it in 2015, and we're geniuses. We cleared $100,000. You will owe no taxes on that money. No taxes. Buy it, live in it for 2 years, sell it. No taxes.
Or if you selling it, if you're 2 years and then you rent it, you still get no taxes on the rent that's coming in?
That kind of gets into accountant territory because what it is it's 2 of the last 5 years. So I believe you're still exempt as long as you've lived there for 2 of the last 5 years and you haven't sold a primary residence in that same time frame. So yeah, I mean, there may be some taxes owed. It just depends on how you treat the asset. If you depreciate it with the IRS, so then that's a whole other thing. But you can take even more money off of your taxes by owning real estate if you depreciate it. The IRS says that your house has a 27.5 year usable life. So if you bought it for $100,000, you can take $2,750 off of your taxable income every year for 27.5 years, right? 100,000 divided by 27.5. So if you depreciated it for 3 years while you were renting it, you'd have to pay taxes on that recaptured depreciation, and then the remainder would be tax-free. But if you went 1 of the last 5, you would probably have a prorated, like you pay half of the capital gains. So the best thing, if you're going to do this, I call this the buy 6, get the 7th free. There's people that have done this. If you make $50,000 a house every 2 years, 6 times 5 is $300,000. You can buy the 7th one for cash. So you buy it, you work like a dog to fix it up, you live in it the whole time, you sell it for a gain, pay no taxes on it. Take that $50,000 you made, put it down on the next house in conjunction with whatever your other down payment is. Work like a dog, sell it, make another 50. Now you have 100. Put that 100 down on the next one, fix it up. You'll end up with $300,000 cash that you pay no taxes on in 10 years, or 12 years, depending on how you do it. But yeah, this capital gains thing is huge. I mean, I've seen people, life happens, credit card debt skyrockets, and then they just go sell the house they live in and pay everything off and have no tax liability. Because you think if you want to net $100,000 working, you're probably going to have to make 133 because of the tax rate. So this is one way where you keep your job. You just buy the house, tune it up a little bit, like we talked about private ownership. Get that carpet out of the bathroom, redo your doors, paint it, windows, Home Depot type deals, take every other weekend and then pull that gain. And then if, you can pay stuff off, but the smart thing to do would be to reinvest in another house. And then you get that. The max, if you're married, that's exempt is $500,000. So if for some reason you bought that for 100 and sold it for 800,000, you're going to pay some taxes. Okay. So if you're single, it's 250 per deal. So, buy it for 100, sell it for 350, and you're single, you're not married, no taxes. Same goes up to $500,000 gain if you're married. So this is also a huge one. Any questions on that?
Just a comment, there are very few moves that you can make anymore without paying any taxes. And this is one of them. And a lot of people don't even know this exists.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that part of it is it's kind of painful simple. Go buy one. And then work on it when you feel like it. And then ditch it in a couple of years. Get another one, do it again. So it's kind of lame, right? That would maybe detract from the security stability part if you're moving every couple of years, but it really depends on your goals too. Do you want this thing forever? Do you want to buy 6 and get the 7 for free? It's really whatever you make it. Actually, we're starting this right now. We're buying one, and me and my wife are going to do it. See if we like it. Debt pay down over time. So you're renting. Does your landlord ever say, "Hey, you've been here long enough. You don't need to pay anymore"? Has anyone ever heard that? Not even once? Ever.
How are they supposed to go on vacation? They stop charging.
Dang. So your payment and it's gone. Right, over 30 years. And that's if you just make like more or less the minimum payment. So the minimum payment is just the coupon they send you. Hey, $1,600 next year, it's $1,615 next year, it's $1,630, next year it's $1,640. At some point, because you're paying it down. So this would be the interest portion, and this would be the principal portion. We can make this 2 things. So this also is an amortization thing. It's almost all interest in the beginning, and then almost all principal at the end. But at some point, if you just don't refinance, you'll owe nothing on your property. So that's always been the grabber for, because I rented for a long time too, is you really are like, you're literally paying this dude's property off. You're paying the taxes through your rent. You're paying their insurance expenses. And you're paying all of their interest expenses, but they get the write-off, not you. Even though you're paying it, right? They get the write-off. And you pay the principal down to 0. So at some point, Mr. Landlord buys a house, lets you move into it, doesn't let you fix it up, don't let you change anything, and then he ends up with a free and clear house.
Genius.
Yeah, and paying a few dollars more than the required amount can drastically reduce the amount of time you pay on the loan. So when we talk about, your first payment is $200 in principal and $1,100 in interest. And then it goes to a 1, to a 2, to a 3, to a 4. So then you get to $212 in 12 months. So let's say the first 12 months of your loan, you paid $1,500 towards the principal, right? Because of this amortization, you're only paying a little bit of the principal, but it gets bigger and bigger every time. But you're paying all the interest. The one way to what's called mortgage hack is this is super critical, especially in the first 5 years of your loan. So if that payment, the principal and interest portion is $1,300, making it a $1,500 payment, your first payment, $200 more, is actually a double payment because you hit the principal twice. And if you make a $2,600 payment, what is that? 13. That's 13, equivalent of 13 mortgage payments. By paying a couple $100s a month each month in the first 5 years, or just making an extra entire payment and telling the bank to put it towards principal, you can take your 30-year loan and make it a 15 or a 20-year loan like nothing. I bought a house in 2009 and I did that for a while, and it's almost paid off. That's 11 years. So it'll probably be paid off in about 15 years. 30-year mortgage. I don't pay any extra on it now, but I just threw money at it every once in a while in the first few years. Because what happens is, if this is, so that the interest is measured this way and the principal is measured this way, does that make sense? So your first payment is just going to be all interest. So what you do is you accelerate down this 30-year course by making more payments. So you can skip from this payment to this payment to this payment, instead of this being like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, by paying extra on your principal. Then there's less principal to pay next time, and it makes it more. At the end, remind me, we'll pull up an amortization chart. It'll show each payment, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But by paying a little extra, you jump a year or 2 years or 3 years ahead in that whole curve. So if I make 2 years worth of payments, $2,400, now I'm in year 27 of the loan instead of year 30, 29, 28, due to the fact that you can pay that principal down. HELOC. So HELOC stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. So as you're paying your mortgage down and the house is going up in value, it doesn't, like, the money doesn't do you any good if you don't have access to it. You know, if you want to fix the house up or you want to buy an investment property, but all your money is stuck in the house, a really good way to access that is through a home equity line of credit. They're very inexpensive to get. I got one through Northwest Community Credit Union, and there was no fees. I'm sure you guys have all seen Zillow, right? Zillow has an estimate of your home value, or Realtor.com has one. Well, there's a company called CoreLogic, and that's what they do. They do automated valuation models. If you go to our website, 541value.com, it accesses CoreLogic and gives you a range of what they think your house is worth, depending on what other houses in the area have sold for, and they also look at the county assessor's office. So there's computer-generated models that say, hey, your house is worth $315, based on what we're seeing. Well, you can go, that's what Northwest Community Credit Union did. So I call them up, say, hey, this is my address, send them a mortgage statement, they say, okay, you owe, just write this out too. So let's say that the automated valuation model said my house is worth $300,000 and I owe $100,000. That means I got $200,000 in equity and they'll loan 90% of this number. So they don't even do an appraisal. They just look it up on the computer and say, okay, we're pretty, now if you think it's worth $350,000, you can pay $1,000, have a dude come out and professionally value your house, or you can, for no fees, just take our number and then we'll loan you $270,000 of that minus this. So then they give you access to $170,000 in equity. That makes sense? It's worth this, I owe that. This is the equity. They're not going to give me all of it. They want a little bit of security, so they'll give me 170. This 170 doesn't cost me anything unless I use it. So I can have that money. I'm not paying any interest on it. I didn't pay any fees to get it because they use their computer model for evaluation. But now I have, basically, it's a checkbook that has access up to $170,000. So you see a house you want to buy, a good deal, you'd be a cash buyer. Run a check for $140,000. Take the other 30 to fix it up. Once it's fixed up, go get a loan on it, get your money back. So you stop paying interest on it, rent it out, and have someone else do it. So HELOCs, debt's like a loaded gun, right? You can go use it productively and kill for food, or you at the same time could shoot yourself in the head. So you have to be careful with debt. So if you see this floating around in the checkbook that's in your glove box and see a Ferrari, right? But if you use it for good, you could acquire more property. You just bought the one and you've done your thing for a few years and you have equity in it. This is a great way to access it without having to sell your house, right? Because selling your house, you're moving, you're paying realtor fees, which I like, and then it's gone. But if you do own a house and it's worth more than you paid for it, this is something you should definitely look into, because having money but not having access to it to invest and make more money with it doesn't really do us any good, right? Because we want to collect the money, we want to keep the money, and we want to multiply it. Those are like the three ways to build wealth: get it, keep it, multiply it. So if you can use this to multiply it, it's awesome. Any questions on the HELOC?
What's the original loan amount then after you take the HELOC on that 300,000?
One more time.
Would it be 470,000? So you bought the house, you have the loan of 300,000, then you take the HELOC, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. So the house is worth 300. Your first mortgage is 100. So your equity is 200 grand, and they give you 170 of the 200. So the total owed would be 270. The $100,000 mortgage plus the $170,000 HELOC. So the idea is you could still sell the house and pay all the loans off. That's why they would want to give you like 100% financing. So ideally, you take that money, deploy it, and buy an asset that makes you money, refinance, and then put the money back. But if you had some crazy student loans at like 12% interest or something, and a HELOC, interest rates are anywhere from like 4 to 6 or 7%, depending on your credit, you could take the cheaper money and get rid of the more expensive money, and then save the interest that way as well.
I have a question on HELOC.
Yeah.
HELOC doesn't change your amortization schedule or interest you owe on the principal loan, right?
Nope.
Doesn't affect that.
It has no effect on it. The nice thing is with the HELOCs, most of the time it's simple interest. So you're not getting gouged with that crazy triangle of amortization.
Okay.
So if it's you borrow 100 grand at 6% interest, it's going to cost you $6,000 a year to get it. Versus you borrow 100 grand on a 30-year mortgage, you end up paying like $98,000 in interest or something. Dude, wealth generation. I didn't know this until I was looking for clothes to stick on this thing to impress you guys. 90% of all millionaires become so through owning real estate. 9 out of 10. Real estate. That's Mr. Carney. And then landlords grow rich in their sleep. So again, if you start looking at this, access to capital, increases in value over time, even though there may be small decreases, right? You zoom out and you know that in 30 years, these things, we're gonna wish we had way more. I will wish today I bought more houses in 30 years. Oh, just like the Apple stock, right? Or the Lithium stock for $1. This then is now, or yeah, something like that. Now is then. Because it just, what is it? So we've got Earth is like not getting any bigger, right? And then someone was saying volcanoes are making more land, which is a lie. But right, if the Earth is this big, oh, we got two of you, huh? We got flat earthers over there.
It's flatland, yeah.
We're not making any more of it. And population, we know, is growing, right? There's more people on Earth now than have ever been before, except for maybe when there were dinosaurs or something. Point being, it will, less scarcity, right? It will go up in value over time. There's a finite amount of dirt. They're not making any more of it. And then compounding interest, this is one of the last things I wanted to talk about. So as far as property values go, they compound just like the stock market. I'm sure you guys have all seen like the things, you put $50 away when you're 16 and you're a millionaire by the time you're 35.
Right.
I'll quite figure that. I remember I was one of the lucky ones. I had put like 5,000 away for, gosh, I think it was 10 years in a row. And then I looked and my retirement account was worth less than the amount that I put in it. I told my dude, it's like, oh yeah, you're having a great year. No, not really. Because I'm looking and I put $60,000 in this thing. It's worth 58. That was like, with the stock market is like the worst stock market of all time. So yeah, sometimes compounding interest doesn't work so well. What's my example for this? So we have, this is what it was. So I'm valuing a property yesterday. They paid $570,000 for it. 2018. And I valued it at $650. It's like, because we do a lot of property value. So you look at it a couple different ways to make sure I'm not wildly missing anything. The real estate market on average the last couple of years, this is conservative. We've had some 8 and 10% years. It goes up 5%. You ready to calculate? 570 times 1.05.
598.5.
And the difference is 28.5. So your investment went up 5% to 598.5. Now where compounding comes into play is it doesn't go up another 28.5 the next year. This value stacked to this. Now we get 5% of the bigger number. So what's 598.5 times 1.05?
628,425.
628,425?
Correct.
What's that difference between 598.5 and that?
29,925.
29925?
Correct.
So this is where compounding comes into play. So right, we go 2021, 22, 23, just based on 5%. What happens is, like that simple interest I mentioned, where you're just paying 6%, so you're paying $6,000 a year. Compounding is a thing. So in the beginning, right, 5% is 5% either way. But when it adds to the next one, that's when you start to see this divergence occur between the compounding and simple interest. Simple interest, right, is just 5%. So I put my money in the bank and I get that 5%. No big deal, but I pull the money out every year or whatever. That's going to keep it simple, but if you leave the money in the bank or in your investments, then it stacks and stacks and stacks. So all of a sudden now, my $650,000 valuation isn't that far up because just if the market had gone up 5% a year for the last 2 years, they're at 630. They've done a bunch of improvements. So I was like, dang. And then that's why I decided to use it in here because I did this yesterday. It was like, well, that's an example of compounding interest. And then what's 2021 look like?
659,846.
2021, 659. And what's that delta? 30,000 something? 425 minus 659. I did a video the other day and my mouth was all jacked up. So now 31,421. I've been banned. Shadow banned. So does this show, does this make sense with the compounding interest? So the first year we made 28.5, next year 29, next year 31. Because that same thing goes with the rents. When you pull the rent out of the house that you're renting every month, it doesn't suck the walls in or make the shingles fall off or devalue the asset of it. You just get the money out. If you had $1 million in the bank and you took 10,000 out, then you'd have 10,000 less. But if you have $1 million property that's giving you monthly cash flow from rents, taking the rents doesn't devalue it at all because you're not actually drawing down on the principal or what you paid for. It doesn't devalue, which is kind of an interesting concept as well. If you got a bunch of money in the bank, get it into real estate. Yeah. Oh no, this is a scary one. This is inflation. So in the long and short, inflation is kind of like this weird ethereal thing to explain, but more or less inflation is the devaluation of the dollar over time. So here, this is from 1910 to 2013, and it hasn't like done anything fun. It's still going up. Maybe not quite as savage as that. So right here, this is $1, okay? So to have the same buying power as $1 did in 1910, you would need $2,275 today. All right, so I think I was trying to do Thanksgiving dinner. So here, $1 would get you Thanksgiving dinner for 100 people. Right now, here, $1 gets you maybe a small McDonald's coffee or maybe a hash brown. So what this shows is it takes more dollars to buy things as we go through life, right? Because we owe China trillions of dollars and we can't make it pay. We just literally make more money and give it to them. Print. The government just prints it. So the more water you add to a stock pot of soup,
They call it quantity easy.
they call it QE. The more water you add, right? Yeah, and you see that jumps.
Literally why that.
There's just less and less buying power in each dollar. And one way to hedge against inflation is to buy real estate. Because what will happen is if it took you $100,000 to buy that house, inflated in a few years, it'll take now values go up, but just everything else costs just inflation. It will take more dollars tomorrow to buy that house than it would today. So if you buy an asset, you don't have a bunch of cash sitting around, you buy an asset, the asset will take more dollars to buy. So it preserves your asset value. That's why people buy gold, because it takes more and more dollars to buy that same amount of gold. So yesterday's dollars went into gold, and that gold holds the dollar's value over time. Or like a stock soup example, like inflation is just adding water to the soup. It's just going to take more soup to actually get you the calories you would need to live. And then another little visual is, the same dollar in 1910 got you a full grocery bag. Looks like now you lost an eggplant and an apple. You lost most of the fruit. And then the fishy fish is gone, and then they jack your turkey. Right? So does that explain inflation?
Yes.
So having just cash is not the greatest thing, but having assets is good. I remember there was a story, I think it was World War II. Dude takes a wheelbarrow full of cash to the store to buy a loaf of bread. When he went inside to get the loaf of bread, someone had dumped all the cash out and stolen his wheelbarrow because the money was worthless. And that's what inflation does. It just makes money worthless. Should have kept the wheelbarrow. Traded a wheelbarrow for some bread. All right. Some final thoughts. People think, I need a 20% down payment to buy a house. Well, the fact is 71% of buyers put down less than 20%. So the majority of buyers are not doing 20% down. In fact, we have USDA that's 0% down. We have VA loans if you're a veteran that's 0% down. We have 1% down conventional loans. The Federal Housing Administration has an FHA loan that's 3.5% down. There's 5% down options. So you don't need a bunch of cash to buy a house. I have to have a perfect credit score. I need a 780. Well, the truth is, you need at least a 580. 620 is going to get you a better rate. But a 580 credit score, you can get an FHA loan. Getting approved for a mortgage is hard. Also not true. 78.1% of loan applications were approved this last month. That's a pretty wild number. 78% of people who went to try to get a loan got it. Interest rates. So in September, the rates were 3.93. I just locked one for 3.375 on Tuesday myself. So rates are super low right now too. And the math on that is, if that house payment is $1,600 a month, at 3.5%, at 4.5%, it's $160 a month more. So a 1% increase or decrease in mortgage rates on a 30-year mortgage is a 10% difference in costs. So rates probably aren't going to get much lower than they are today. 3.5, 3.75 is par. I bought mine down a little bit. When rates jump from 3.5 to 4.5, which is still historically like amazing rates, that house is now 10% more expensive to you. So even if house prices go down a little bit, rates go up, you're still better off buying a house today than you are waiting for them to go down. Because who really cares about the value? It's the monthly payment that kills everyone. So yeah, mortgage rates are awesome. And then some people would say, well, I don't have enough equity in the home I live into to move. Well, that's also not true because 96.2% of homeowners in the US have positive equity, which is more than 20%. That means if it's worth $200,000, you owe 160 or less. You've got that 20% equity. And my favorite quote is, the best investment on earth is earth. So how are we doing on time? 6:30. So we've got worksheets here. What I would like to do is, instead of us just like being intellectual about it, I'd like everyone to just get those out and do your own debt to income calculation, and I'll do a fake one up here. So what we know is the average, your regular lender is going to let you go to 45% debt to income. And this is how a mortgage guy is going to determine whether or not you qualify for a loan. So that you need income, and then you need a down payment. So debt to income. If you're pretty good, you can go to 50%. So we can use that as a thing. So that means your gross income minus all of your debt payments, and then you're gonna get a ratio. So if you make $10,000 a month, and you have $5,000 a month in total debt payments, that's car payments, credit card payments, that's the minimum on your credit card, student loans, and maybe another mortgage. This would put you at a 50% DTI. That means a guy that's making $100,000 before taxes. $100,000 before taxes can have no more than $5,000 in total monthly debt obligations and qualify for the house. So inside of here is where you would maybe have a $2,500 mortgage, and then you have $2,500 in other things. So this would be like a max. The max is 50%. So on this worksheet, right, it's going to show your top one, your gross income. Your money in the bank is just going to help you figure out what kind of down payment you have. What your current mortgage is, if you have one. If you don't have a mortgage, you need that blank because your rent isn't a debt payment, and it goes away when you move. Credit card debt, if you had to guess, right? If you've got 3 credit cards and the minimum payment's $100 a month on each one, that's $300. And then any other monthly debt, like cars, student loans, if you have like any child support. And then at the bottom, you'll just have like your total debt payments. And then you just simply divide debt payments on a monthly basis over what you make. And if you have any room, so if it's 20%, that means you've got 30% to use to go towards your mortgage payment. That's why I like the 10,000. So if I'm at 20% debt to income, so I have 2,000 a month in expenses, that means that a lender would say you qualify for a $3,000 a month mortgage payment. Max 50% of your income before taxes. So don't look at your paycheck, look at the gross. So if you make $4,000 a month and your check is, I don't know, $2,500, you use the $4,000. That's what the lenders are going to look at. Gross before taxes minus your debts, whatever's left is what you can afford to buy a house with.
How does that work with like something with commission sales where it fluctuates?
So your lender is going to require 2 years of tax returns, and they're going to average that. Now, sometimes, and it hasn't been explained when it doesn't happen. There's a lot of times where they just want 1 year's tax returns. Mm-hmm. So in that case, it would look like,
Usually if you've been in the same industry for 5 years or more, they can go up that number.
yeah, if it looks solid. Like if 1 year's tax return is a little sketchy, they'll say, okay, we need 2. Yeah, so it's going to be a 2-year average. So if you've only been in the business for 1 year and you made $100,000 and they ask for 2 years tax returns, they're going to say you make 50 a year, right? Because year 1 is 100, but year 2 is 0. And so the average is 50. But a lot of times if you've got money in the bank, you have good credit, they'll look at year 1, say you were I don't know, like Garrett, you worked in a real estate office, but you weren't commission sales. And then the next year you got into commission sales. Then they say, hey, you've got multiple years in the same industry, which is real estate. Look at 1 year and say, okay, great, you make $100,000 a year. That's $9,000 a month. And then off of that, that means you can afford a $4,500 total debt load. You got $2,000 already going out. You can afford a $2,500 a month payment, which means you qualify for $400,000 purchase. But this is a nice little sheet to do your numbers. This isn't anything we're going to ask for, but it's always good to have an action after learning something and something to talk with your significant other about and just run some math. So what that looks like, there's two ways to help yourself. The first one, increase your income, right? That'll help you qualify for more. And the other way is to decrease your expenses. So we look at your, say you've got a crazy car loan of like $750 a month, and that's preventing you from buying a car. Can we sell the car?
Mhm.
We sell the car, can we get a house? No. And then if we get a house, then we can afford to buy the car later because it's getting paid off, it's going to value, out.
And car financing is much more forgiving than mortgage.
Yeah, and you can go buy a car after you get a loan because they're like, yeah, you go 99%. No, right. So increase money or decrease expenses are kind of the, in the long and short. And then you can make it as complicated as you want, but those are the two options. So if we're thinking about it, that's great. But once you put it on paper, now you brought it into the world and it's real. It's something that you can look at. We can make copies of those for you. You could do one this month, you come back next month and do another one and see how you affected your financial statement. Just real rudimentary. Hey, I got a raise. Okay, great. I got a raise. So how does that affect my ability to buy a house? Or hey, I finally paid that student loan off. Or I took the smallest credit card and knocked that thing out, and then took the second smallest credit card and knocked that thing out. And now I'm saving, for my down payment or for my closing costs because I got a zero down loan. Does everyone have questions on that little worksheet?
I'm tracking.
Another question.
Yeah.
If you can, is it better to put for long term or the say the 30-year loan to put more than 20% down?
Good question. That would really depend on your goals. If you're really averse to monthly payments and you just want to be debt free, that may be a good option for you. If you want to buy multiple houses, cash is king, and you would probably want to put less down. Another thing that would factor into that is how does it affect your payment? Does the low down option, does it cost you disproportionately more money every month than it would if you put a 20% down? What that would be your mortgage insurance. For example, if you're buying a $300,000 house and you're putting $15,000 down, that's 5% down, you're going to have mortgage insurance. Anytime you have a loan where the mortgage is more than 80% of the purchase price, you no longer are conventional, and then an insurance company actually guarantees that you'll make the payment. And if you don't make the payment, they make the payments for you. That's what mortgage insurance is. So the question would be, how much is the mortgage insurance? $300,000 house, you got really good credit, it might be $50 a month. If your credit's not so good, it could be $200 a month. So then you go, oh, okay, well, maybe it's better for me to put a bigger down because I save more money every month and then I avoid that $200 bill. But if you have really good credit, you're like, hey, the mortgage really isn't that much more. Then I still have my cash to buy another house or do something more productive with it. So that's really case dependent, but I always say put as little down as possible. So I'm trying to buy more. But it also depends on where you're at in the life cycle. I did this one last time too. So, everyone's life cycle is kind of like this, right? So if you're in the acquisition phase, you want less down so you can buy more. But if you're on the back end of this thing, you're trying to simplify and retire, and your biggest thing is just not having monthly payments, right? These are your two different scenarios here. So I'm more like right here. So super aggressive. But when I'm 70, I'll probably just want to pay everything off. Or I don't know, pay someone to deal with it. Any other topics at all? We can.
Right, so you mentioned the low down payment if you're purchasing a home to live in, but are those same low down payments available if you're purchasing a home as a rental?
If you don't own a home, yeah, you can use an FHA loan. And that's a,
Okay, so in my case, I own a home, I've owned a home for years. Now I'm thinking about buying a rental, but I guess what I'm asking is that they have different terms for mortgages for rentals that you're purchasing.
the loans are more or less the same as long as you're 1 to 4 units. Once you go 5 or more units, then it's a commercial loan. That's totally different.
Okay.
You can buy a single family house, non-owner occupied, for 15% down. But once you get into multifamily, there's no mortgage insurance available. So now you're looking at 20 or 25% down, typically 25. Right. Duplex, 3 units or 4 units. So 1 to 4 is residential lending, and then 5+ is commercial lending. So you go from 30-year mortgages to like 10. Because the commercial banks, they don't want to lock your interest rate at 4% for 30 years. They're like, we'll give it to you for 5. It's usually 2 5-year terms that makes a commercial loan. So yeah, if you're buying investment properties, multi-units that you're not going to live in, you're going to have to put more down. It also is going to make sure that you cash flow as well, right? If you own 95% of the property's value, it's a higher mortgage payment. A higher mortgage payment is you're just going to be a little bit more squeezed at first. But the reality is do what you got to do to buy them, because we know what rents do over time, and we know what property values will do over time. So it always is it's a longer play. I tell you what, you turn back, Eli, how long have you owned real estate for? 17 years. 17 years. So you think about what you paid 17 years ago, and like you look back, and you haven't had to sell your soul to the devil, right? Had a job, bought a house, do your thing, buy another one, do your thing, buy another one. You turn around and go, wow, like my financial statement's pretty cool right now. And all I did was just get them, what I had to do. That's why I want everyone just to write this stuff down. Like, what do I want? I want to buy a house in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years. Make a plan, do something to push yourself forward. What you got?
So we calculated the mortgage payment for our debt to income. How are you getting the purchase price? So if your mortgage is $2,500, what's the formula to get the house price?
So we'll pull this up here. So I always go to bankrate.com. Oh, look at that. I remember I told them to put that on there. So I do enough of these to kind of have an idea. But yeah, there's tons of mortgage calculators available. This is the one I just always use. So mortgages, mortgage calculator. Then you start making assumptions, right? I would like a $300,000 house. And then it's gonna estimate. So over here, you see they're estimating your insurance based on the purchase price as well as the taxes, just a little bit under 1%. So we know what $1,647 is the payment. And then you can change this and see how the purchase price. So if you're at, let's go 2,500. 2,500 payments, about 462 purchase price. And then once you play with these for a while, you just start getting an idea of what that correlation is. $10,000 is about $40 a month. And so if it's $1,600 for a $300,000 house, $310,000 house is $1,640 a month. $290,000 house is $1,560. Yeah, I just pull up the mortgage calculator house on my phone.
You just have those numbers already. You know what you're.
Yeah. So yeah, bankrate.com is a good one. You Google mortgage calculator, you'll probably find way more than you like. But this one's nice because you can change things. I could say, interest rate 5.25. Yeah. Okay. So 2510 at 5.25. So at 4.25 should be about 10% less. 22. Yeah. So $230 less, about 10%. So yeah, this one is nice. There's not like a million ads that pop up. You can change all your variables. It's like, okay, so what if the property taxes, were $6,000 a year? How does that change my payment? What if they were $600 a year? What if I didn't pay taxes? What if I didn't pay my insurance? So yeah, bankrate.com is a good one to figure that stuff out. You work it forward, you work it backwards. And a lot of times you'll find that your debt to income ratio, you can actually buy a lot more than you're comfortable with on a monthly basis. And that's another thing to consider. Like, okay, cool. Like we can afford a $6,000 mortgage, but do we want to? No, I would get a little apartment complex with a $6,000 mortgage that brought in $10,000 in rents. I'd be begging for that problem. Anything else?
When going to like you're traveling a lot for a job, like you're gonna be at a place for like a year, 2 years, do you think it's better to rent or is it better to buy within that time span? You know that you're gonna be gone in a year and a half, 2 years to another city.
Is that city gonna be anywhere near where you're at?
Yeah, like say like Oregon days.
Yeah, I might. Yeah. I own real estate in Salem, in Albany.
That's on Boise.
Yeah, Ben has some Boise. So what I would do in that case is say you're in Medford for a year, grab a house, get a good real estate agent. Like we have vendor lists. I have a guy that is a builder from California. He's working on buying a building lot from me. He's going to build a house on it. My dad's a builder. I've been a builder. So I have a great list of contacts. And he says, okay, well, in order for me to buy this lot, I kind of need a bid. Oh, it'll take to build this house. I need to make sure I can build a house for so much and then sell it for enough to make a profit. It's his business. And I said, perfect. Well, here's my vendor list. And it is excavation, foundation, drywall, electrical, heating and air, roofers, painters, appliance guys, cabinets, countertops. So he can call all the dudes on my list and build a house. So that if you have a good vendor list for that area and your property manager, or your property manager just fix it for you, right? He'll just take the money out of your rent. But if you're managing the property yourself or it's not rented yet and you're out of town, you get a call for an issue. Always have a lockbox on your house. Like I have one of those lock boxes that's just screwed to my wall. So, and I can give the plumber the code and he can roll in there. He's a trusted guy because he's on my vendor list and he'll fix it for me. Need a good painter? I don't need to get 5 bids. I know this guy has good prices. So if you do that, just make sure that you have like some good people to access, for the maintenance and repairs you'll need. Because things break. Carpets get worn out. People kick holes in doors.
Kyle.
Yeah, I'd buy. If you're like, I wouldn't buy in Alaska if I lived down here. Totally different climate, totally different market. I don't know how you get there. Is it Russia?
Yeah.
Sled down.
That's what Sarah Palin's.
That's right. That's what way back was. Anymore? Yeah,
I won't waste it.
yeah.
Is there a certain amount of I guess when you're buying properties, say it's like you go every 2 to 3 years to buy a different property. Mm-hmm. Is there a certain amount like a honey pot that you want on the side for like that individual property? Say you need a certain savings to have. I guess for you, do you keep a certain amount aside to fix your houses, or if you're having problems with the renters, you don't have anyone in there?
Yeah, so you want to have 6 months of reserves for each house you own.
Okay.
The bank's going to require that as well. So yeah, figuring 6 months reserves will take care of any major system like a roof, heating and air system, and also will account for some vacancy as well. So yeah, emergency fund, if you will, is 6 months reserves. Yeah, I was like, okay, all hell breaks loose. I've got, the average would be like $9,000. $9,000 allocated for whatever's going to happen in this place. Knowing that the money that I do put into is going to increase value and probably help with the rents and stuff. Right, like the old dingy house that needs a new roof is not going to rent as well as that same house with a new roof on. I re-roofed 2 houses this year, kind of over in this part of town. Like you could probably, I don't know, if you're really good, throw a rock and hit one of them. And I drove by them today. We had a vacancy. We just moved out, and I forgot I had new roofs on. I'm like, hey, that's pretty sharp. The old roof, got moss on it, and the gutters get a little. So roofer put new gutters on it. And it was nice. Yeah, 6 months would be my advice, or get to 6 months as quick as you can if you know it. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, grab some beers or whatever. Have some meals of meat and cheese.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for coming. That's a little wraps. Guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll hang up for this if anyone has any more questions.
Yeah, we met last
We met soon. And then we sat next to each other.
last month.
Yeah. I used to interview
So
Eli
I'm picturing,
years ago.
having